One fight was meant to redefine a generation. One man became the undisputed king of boxing, cementing his legacy forever. But did his greatest victory accidentally expose the harsh truth about the sport's slow, painful decline? The world was focused on the punches thrown inside the ring, but the most shocking revelations came from the words spoken just moments after the final bell, revealing a bitter war for the soul of boxing itself. The night was historic. Terence "Bud" Crawford, a master of the sweet science, stepped into the ring against the formidable Canelo Alvarez, moving up in weight to chase immortality. Broadcast worldwide on Netflix, it was a high-stakes gamble meant to usher in a new age for the sport. And when the dust settled, Crawford stood victorious. As he held his championship belt, veteran commentator Max Kellermen leaned in and declared him the GOAT of this era. For a moment, it was a perfect coronation. A fighter who had spent his career answering doubters had finally silenced them all on the biggest stage imaginable.
Thank you, GOAT, because you are the GOAT of this era. Terence "Bud" Crawford.
But that clean, triumphant narrative was about to get very, very complicated. Fellow commentator and boxing legend Andre Ward was quick to praise Crawford's performance, calling it nothing short of great. He emphasized the sheer danger of what Crawford had accomplished. At nearly 38 years old, he had fought a masterful, intelligent fight to dismantle a bigger, stronger opponent. Ward broke down what made Crawford so special. It wasn't just his skill, but his surprising strength, rooted in a wrestling background that many fans overlook. He explained how Crawford's excellent conditioning and raw power earned Canelo's respect early in the fight, neutralizing the supposed size advantage. Ward saw it as the final, undeniable stamp on a legendary career, a man who had answered every single question asked of him.
We just seen Terence Crawford create greatness and beat Canelo Alvarez tonight. What was your thoughts on that performance from Terence?
Terence Crawford is a great performance, man. He's been doing this throughout the course of his career. The stakes were a lot different in this fight, a lot more danger. He had to fight that kind of fight in order to beat Canelo Alvarez tonight, and he did that at 37, but getting ready to be 38 years old. And he proved, like Max said, that he is the GOAT of this generation. Hats off to Canelo for taking the fight. He didn't have to take it. Hats off to Turkey Al-Sheikh for putting it together. Just a great, great night for boxing.
Yeah. How special a fighter is someone like Terence Crawford? There was no signs of a size disadvantage there. How special?
You can see it in spots, but it wasn't significant. And I didn't think it was going to be significant. And people call me crazy, but I've been around Terence. He's strong. He's got a wrestling background, and people don't realize that he's been boiling himself down all these years and still being successful, not having to do that. His condition seemed impeccable, and his strength was there, the power was there enough to get respect from Canelo. So what more can I say?
But then, Ward said something that no one expected. When asked what was next for the new king, Ward's answer was stunning: retirement. He believed Crawford had checked all the important boxes. He had the money to secure his family's future for generations. He had the reputation as an all-time great. He had a legacy that could never be tarnished. In Ward's view, there was simply nothing left for Crawford to prove.
What would you like to see him do next? Do you think there's another fight after this?
I'd like to see him be done. What are we boxing for at this point? What else is there to do? There's always going to be a YouTuber or a reporter or somebody conjuring up another challenge. We box to get ourselves in a better financial position, to build a name and a legacy. Those boxes are checked. What else are we doing? Why are we still in the game?
Yeah, I get it. Andre, always good to talk to you. Appreciate it.
The suggestion hung in the air, a shocking idea that the man who had just reached the absolute pinnacle of the sport should immediately walk away. It hinted at a deeper truth, that maybe the rewards at the top were no longer worth the risk. And while Ward was contemplating an exit for the sport's top star, Max Kellermen was doing the exact opposite. Kellermen delivered an emotional, almost desperate speech, not about the past, but about the future. He called the Canelo Crawford event the kickoff of a new golden era of boxing.
No, I didn't. What I said was, and I was right. And of course, Canelo is the face of boxing. So of course he feels a certain way about it. But does anyone dispute that boxing is not as big as it used to be? right? It's not. If you go down in the street, the average person doesn't know. Now, it's different in Mexico, obviously, and I even said before that, Mexican and Mexican-American fans have kept boxing alive in North America. So Canelo from Mexico, of course, has a different experience, because you walk down the street in Mexico, the average person knows who the champion is. In America, in the United States, they do not. The point is, we have a chance for the first time in my life, which is why I'm involved with this, because I think there's an historical moment where there's a chance that it could work, that between Turki Al-Sheikh and Dana White and Nick Khan, who's the most effective executive I have ever even heard about, let alone seen, that this could become, what's going on here, what Canelo Crawford's kicking off, could actually result in a golden era of boxing, because for the first time, we could have a they there.
It was a bold claim, and for many watching it felt strangely out of place. He wasn't just celebrating a great fight, he was selling a vision, a promise that boxing's best days were ahead. This was far more than just post-fight analysis, it was the beginning of a massive controversy. Kellermen was trying to convince the world it was sunny outside, while critics felt like it had been raining on the sport for decades.
So if you want a league or a sport to grow, you need to make plans. And the issue with boxing has always been it's a laissez-faire marketplace. It's, as Dana White says, a going out of business sale. Every promotion's trying to juice the fans for everything they got, which is why now only a handful of fans are watching on pay-per-view. The prices keep going up because the marketplace is shrinking, because we haven't exposed it to the mainstream. Because we take these fans and we $100 for a pay-per-view. Come on, man. And half the time the fights aren't good, right? And they don't take place when we want to see them even. So that base gets smaller and smaller, and as it gets smaller, we charge them more and more because to make the profit, right? That has not worked. It's dried boxing up, it's moved it to the margins.
And what happened next revealed the controversial blueprint he believed could save it. Kellermen argued that boxing's biggest problem for decades has been its lack of a central authority. Unlike major sports leagues or even the UFC, boxing has no they. No single entity making the big fights, building stars, and planning for the future. He then named the people he believed could form this new authority: the Saudi promoter Turki Al-Sheikh, with his seemingly endless resources, Dana White, the man who built the UFC into a global powerhouse, and Nick Khan, the executive from WWE he called the most effective he'd ever seen. It was a shocking proposal. He was essentially advocating for a corporate merger to take over the fragmented world of boxing, centralizing its power in the hands of a few billionaires and master promoters.
You have more of the best fighters in the world than anyone else. So I would ask you, does this have the resources? Turki Al-Sheikh, do we have the resources? Yes. Do you have someone who has built an institution in combat sports? The only one I'm aware of. No other institution ever really existed in boxing. As Dana White will say, who I go back with more than 20 years, as Dana White would say, so how many billions of dollars has boxing generated? And what's left? There's nothing here. Promoters go out and, they have a little suite of offices, a couple rooms, and then they leave and then they're gone. There's no institution left. The UFC is an institution, guys. Why do you think all your friends and everybody know more about the UFC and it's talked about more in the mainstream than boxing? Because they have a they there. So the resources are there with Turki, the knowledge of institution building is there with Dana, and Nick Khan is, I'm telling you, and I go back 25 years with Nick Khan, used to be my agent. He's the best operator I have ever seen, period. In any business. He is the best executive I have ever seen. I don't think there's a close second. So, Turki, resources, Dana, institutional knowledge, and Nick Khan as the executive. Can this work? And now, it's kicked off with Canelo and Crawford.
But this grand vision immediately drew heavy fire. The backlash was swift and brutal. Journalists and fans accused Kellermen of preaching to the audience and trying to create the idea that if you repeat a lie often enough, people will start to believe it's true. They pointed out the bizarre hypocrisy of his argument. Just days earlier, at a press conference, Kellermen had gotten into a tense exchange with Canelo after stating that boxing wasn't as popular anymore.
You want an NBA or an NFL in boxing? Here it comes. because he knows how to build an institution. And how do you do that?
Hey, Max. Boxing is always bigger and big. Don't say boxing is not big enough. Boxing is big. You know how big is boxing.
Should it get bigger, yes or no? Should it get bigger, Canelo?
Maybe it's gonna be bigger, but look, boxing is always big and bigger and bigger and bigger. We need to talk about that too. Boxing is boxing.
I love Canelo in English, by the way. I love it.
Boxing is boxing.
No lies. No lies.
So how do you do it?
There.
So how do you do it? You have someone like
My respect for all the sport. Great job, everything, but boxing is boxing.
Now, he was championing that very same Dana White as the sport's potential savior. To critics, it seemed like Kellermen was trying to spin a convenient narrative, perhaps to save face or to push an agenda backed by the powerful people promoting the event. He was telling the audience to believe in a golden age, but the evidence suggested otherwise. This controversy exposed a much deeper sickness within the sport, a massive personality problem. As critics pointed out, the single biggest pay-per-view draw in boxing in recent years, outside of this legacy fight, has been Jake Paul. A man who built his fame outside the sport, who draws attention because people either love him or desperately want to see him get knocked out. That's what sells in the modern attention economy: personality. Crawford and Canelo are two of the greatest fighters of their generation, but their promotion relied heavily on cross-promotion with the larger, more culturally relevant brands of the UFC and WWE. If your sport needs bigger entities to get attention, what does that say about the state of your own product? The fight was spectacular, but it didn't create a new star. It simply showcased two existing ones, leaving a void once they're gone. In the end, Terence Crawford's legacy is secure. He is, without question, one of the greatest to ever step into the ring. He defied the odds, moved up in weight, and defeated a fellow legend. But his crowning moment was immediately swallowed by a desperate, fractured debate about the health of the very sport he had just conquered. The night was supposed to be a celebration of boxing's potential, but it became an autopsy of its problems. So we're left with a thought-provoking question. Did we just witness the coronation of a true all-time king? Or was it simply the last great fight in a kingdom that's slowly crumbling apart? And as the confetti settles, one has to wonder what the future really holds for the sweet science. So, that's all from today's video. If you enjoyed it, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell icon so you never miss our upcoming videos. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Stay tuned, and we will catch you in the next video.